my friends, Anaïs,
Hi.
Steffi,
Hello.
and Estelle. And today we are going to show you a typical student day in Brussels. So, we're starting directly from the central station. Let's go!
The central station is one of the largest railway stations in Belgium. It is the second busiest station in Belgium, with almost 63,000 passengers per day. It only serves regional trains because, as its name suggests, it is located right in the center of the city. So, when you come from abroad with the other international trains such as Thalys, Eurostars, etc., you arrive at the South Station. At the beginning, it was the well-known Victor Horta, a Belgian architect who was supposed to take care of the design of the station, but unfortunately, with the First World War and the lack of budget, it is in the end a certain Maxime Brunfou who will take care of the design. You can reach this station by metro or bus very easily from all parts of Brussels. It's the place where usually a lot of young people meet in the evening to enjoy a pub crawl in the city, which is full of interesting bars like Delirium that we will show you later. And we're going to have a little Starbucks, of course, to start a good day.
So, first place, Moldeza. Let's go!
In the Mont des Arts. It is a square that joins the upper and lower part of the town. It is home to the Royal Library of Belgium, the General Archive of the Kingdom, the Square Congress Center, and the garden. It is a place full of life, especially in the summer period. Cultural events are often organized here. This place was originally a vacant lot. Under the reign of Leopold II, it was used to create a more beautiful space to better accommodate the Universal Exhibition of 1910. 45 years later, this space was destroyed. Today, it is a place that brings together a lot of young people in the summer.
The Royal Place was created between 1775 and 1782 at the same time as the Parc de Bruxelles. The Koudenberg Hill was for 700 years the seat of the castle, residence of the Dukes of Brabant. In 1741, the palace was completely destroyed by fire and no plans were made to rebuild it because the Dukes of Brabant had elected another domicile. Eventually, a statue of Godefroy de Bouillon was placed in the center of the place, and private mansions and the church of Koudenberg were built or restored. And they arranged symmetrically on the square and are in neoclassical style, quite similar in their architecture. There are 8 mansions. The one in the Lawton, number 1 and 2, built by the Royal Lottery, houses the Magritte Museum. The Hôtel des Brasseurs, number 3, has become a museum today. And the Hôtel de Templevue, number 4, houses the Court of Auditors. The hotels of the Koutenbergs, 5, 6 and 7, 8, were built by the Abbey. The Hotel de Bellevue, number 9, which was one of our real luxury hotels, now houses the Bellevue Museum. And the Hotel de Greenbergen, number 10, belongs to the regional government. And at the end, the Hotel de Spangen contains the Museum of Musical Instruments. Here we are at the Grand Sablon. This square has been around since the 12th century. Center of the antique district and surrounded by former mansions, it offers a particularly intense animation from time to time. The Grand Sablon shoulder on weekend with a feverish atmosphere at the antique and book markets. In the middle of the square, the Minerva Fountain, erected in 1751, showed the gratitude of Lord Bruce, the peer of England, for the hospitality he received in Brussels. Several events still take place there, such as the antique markets every weekend, but also the departure of the procession of the Ommegang in June and July, or that of the Saint V every 20 November. Here we are also the Jewish Museum of Belgium, the Museum of Erotism and Mythology. But don't miss the terraces of the small cafe, more friendly than the others, with a special note for the Karchma and its unmissable friendly Echte Bruxelleer ferry. The Tower of Renaissance Boulevard de l'Empereur 46, built at the beginning of the 1st century, it owes its name to the dean of one of the Brussels trades, François Renaissance, who was locked up there before being beheaded on the Grand Place in 1790. Rolbeck Street, a small pedestrian street lined with restaurants, cafes and tea rooms, has 5 beautiful 1 to 9 facades. And the St. James Dead End Church of Our Lady of the Sablon. It's free to visit and it's located Rue des Sablons.
Here you can see the Petit Sablon. Both square and garden have a romantic charm. The park was developed in 1879 by the architect Henri Bayard, on the site of the former parish cemetery of the Church of Our Lady of the Sablon. The center is occupied by the fountain of the Count of Egmont and Horn, symbols of resistance to Spanish tyranny in the 16th century. The fountain is surrounded by 10 statues arranged on the hemicycle, representing politicians, scholars, or artists of the 16th century. The square is surrounded by 48 stone pillars, each decorated with an original decoration and supporting the statue of one of the 48 ancient crafts of Brussels. Note the statue on the left of the entrance is the one of Henri Bayard. Around the park stands a set of 19th century houses, most of them neoclassical in style.
Just in front of you, there is the Palace of Justice.
which is erected on the Mont des Potences where convicts are executed in the Middle Ages. The legend has it that in the 16th century, the famous Dr. Wiezel was going to steal the corpses' bodies at night to study the human body. It is one of the most impressive monuments in Brussels, which offers at its side a breathtaking panorama on the lower part of the city. I'm gonna tell you some history about this Palace of Justice. You have to know that this building was built between 1818 and 1823 by the architect François Verly. In March 1860, the Belgian government organized an international competition for the construction of a new courthouse in Brussels. The jury did not select any of the projects presented, and the file is entrusted to the architect of the city of Brussels. By the way, Joseph Poulard's project is pharaonic. It synthesizes the history of humanity in the architecture of this single building. The construction, which finally began in October 1866, and it took 17 years. It involves the sacrifice of part of the marls, the popular district of the lower part of the city, through expropriation at ridiculous prices, evictions and demolitions. The inauguration will take place on October 15, 1883. Without the architect of this colossus being able to see his work completed. Exhausted and gone mad, he died 4 years before the end of the war. However, around this place you will be hearing over Skeven Architect and the large inkwell. About the Skeven Architect, it's the history of the Poulard's monument which leaves no one indifferent. He is adored by some and laughed at by others. For the realization of this project, Poulard enjoys a great freedom, both artistic and financial, which will cause popular political and cultural discontent. At this century, there were born tasty expressions like Rotten and Skeven Architect, which will become the name of a coffee in the Place du Jeu de Balle in the heart of the Maros. And about the large inkwell, Victor Horta will describe the building as crashing mass crowned by a cheese bell. Fred praises it well. At the top of a rapid hill stands a massive building, with columns so beautiful that the whole looks like an Assyrian royal palace or an illustration by Gustave Doré. Victor Hugo will baptize it the Large Inkwell. This building is the largest courthouse in the world. This palace is a classic Greco-Roman style, larger than St. Peter's Basilica in Rome. It is still to this day the largest courthouse in the world. It's a dome that rises to 100 meters high, a pharaonic hall of lost steps, and it's more than 250 premises, including 27 impressive courtrooms.
Let go, wicked one, you wicked drowning water. I wanna be less than I can be. Waterfalls wash me and cleanse me. Wicked drowning water, let go, wicked one, wicked drowning water.
The Grand Place of Brussels is considered by many tourists and inhabitants to be the most beautiful square in the world. Since 1998, it has also been classified by UNESCO. It is the place to be when you are passing through Brussels. On this square, you will first find the City Hall, the largest building. The town hall was built between 1402 and 1455 and is the only building that is still there on the square after the Middle Ages. The tallest tower is 96 meters high, and at the top of it is a statue of Saint Michael, the patron saint of Brussels, defeating the devil. An interesting anecdote, you may notice that the town hall is not symmetrical. And an old legend known to the people of Brussels says that the architect who designed the building committed suicide by throwing himself from the top of the tower after realizing this architectural mistake. In truth, the two parts were not built together. The left part was built later, but the road and the houses were already there. so it was impossible to respect the symmetry. In front of it, we have the Museum of the History of the City of Brussels. Inside, there are, for example, all the costumes that Mannequin Peace wore. But in fact, this building is called the House of the King, because before it was the office of the Duke of Brabant, and when this Duke became King of Spain, it became the House of the King. The other buildings in this square are all beautiful and decorated with gold ornament. They are old guild houses, such as this one, for example, which is a former brewery. Nowadays, there are a lot of restaurants here that offer Belgian dishes, but it is a bit expensive. We also have a Starbucks and a Hard Rock Coffee.
Mannequin Peace means the little man who pees in Brussels. Today, it's the symbol of Brussels known all over the world and represents a bit of Belgian humor. And yes, he's much smaller than you think when you look at the pictures on the internet. Mannequin Peace is of course a legend of the city. It tells the story of a child who, in his own way, executed the fuse of a bomb with which the enemies of Brussels wanted to set fire to the city. Something very funny about this statue is that Brussels is known for its student folklore, and during student parties, sometimes the city of Brussels pours beer instead of the water into the fountain. The students in Brussels are always crazy. Delirium Bar. It's a bar located in Brussels. It's very well known for offering a huge beer list. It's registered in the Guinness Book of Records as the bar with the most different brands of beer in the world. The establishment was founded in 2003. Its name refers to delirium tremens beer, and delirium tremens refers to a severe neurological disorder linking to alcohol withdrawal syndrome. Delirium Cafe has spread around the world. It's the bar not to be missed in Brussels. In the same street, we find the statue of Mannequin Peace. She happens to be the sister of Mannequin Peace. However, this statue is much less well known. Many people pass by without knowing what it represents. Legend has it that this statue was brought here to establish equality between men and women. Janaka symbolizes fidelity. Many people throw a coin into the bowl to show their love to the person they love. At some point, the coins are collected to be donated to cancer research. This is the old covered market in the center of Brussels, where young people meet for a drink in its many bars. It's known as the Café des Halles. It has been completely renovated and has lounge areas where you can chat quickly in the leather armchairs. It's one of the capital's unmissable bars, such as the Central Café, the Zebra, or the King of the Belgians. It's also a center for exhibitions and events. This place was on the largest island formed by the sand.
St. Catherine Square. It's a square lined with many remarkable buildings. Every day, a fruit and vegetable market animate the square that fills up, especially at lunchtime. The former Brussels Béguinage. The St. Catherine Square has been home to the ancient Béguinage of Brussels for centuries. This one was the first Béguinage in Belgium, just after Liège and well before the one in Bruges. In the Middle Ages, the community of Béguins numbered about 1,000 people, a rather impressive number in a city that numbered between 20,000 and 50,000 in the 16th century. And the Béguins did not only embroidery or lace, contrary to the image we often have. They educated the girls of the city and maintained a flourishing textile trade. They were therefore powerful and autonomous women, which led them to find themselves in the guise of prostitutes. All means are good to make them suspicious. In some paintings by Bosch or Bruegel, for example. Unfortunately, the quash was raised in the 19th century in favor of the expansion of the city. However, the area is still very quiet today, as it was never really opened up after the destruction of the Béguinage. This is the church of Saint Jean-Baptiste au Béguinage, the only remaining remnant of the Brussels Béguinage. Now, there are a lot of very famous restaurants in Brussels to taste shrimp croquettes or one of the best ice cream shops in Brussels, etc. During the summer, there are lots of people who gather here in the restaurants on the square to drink beers or eat a good ice cream. You have to know that from November to the end of January, St. Catherine's hosts the biggest Christmas markets in Belgium. The atmosphere every year is festive. There are tastings of beer, raclette, mulled wine, etc. There is also a Ferris wheel and other attractions for children. It's all called Plaisir d'hiver in Brussels.
I'm chasing shadows around the place. It shouldn't take long now in any case, as long as there is light. Pretending I could stay the night, one breath away. Step up and say, hold on to what is real.
The metro was created in 1976 in Brussels. It makes it possible to reach almost the whole city super fast. The public transport company is called STIB, S-T-I-B. A season ticket for the whole year for a student costs only €50, and you can use the buses, trams and metros, subways in Brussels. The STIB has even announced that transport will be free for students from 2021 onwards. If you want to see the daily fares, etc., you can find further information about prices on the STIB's website.
So guys, we are done for today. So if you really enjoyed it, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and follow us on Instagram for lots of live vlogs. And yeah, thank you for the cameraman. Thank you for watching and see you next time, guys. Bye.